Morning, all. So a little bit later today than the last few days because it's cooled down quite a bit, which is love onshore airflows. So today, the last day before July begins, and we got some hockey tonight. But we'll first discuss the first and second team All Stars, which were announced last night. I didn't have room for them on the board, so I thought I'll talk about that in the morning. So here we are. Your first team: Brad Marchand on the left side, Connor McDavid at center, and right wing Mitch Marner. So that would be a pretty good line, right? On the blue line, Fox and Makar. So you're not getting clarity on which one of the two might be better in that they're both first team. They get to share that together. They didn't get to share the Norris. And Andrei Vasilevsky in net, which has caused people to say, wait a minute. So Marc-Andre Fleury wins the Vezina, and yet Vasilevsky's first star. Because it's different people that voted for the Vezina than voted for the NHL All-Star teams. Your second team All-Stars, Jonathan Huberdeau on the left side. Does that mean he's no longer underrated in that, the writers decided he was the second best left winger? Austin Matthews down the middle, and Mikko Rantanen on right wing. And then on the blue line, it is Victor Hedman. It is Dougie Hamilton. So, pretty good team right there. And of course, in net, Marc-Andre Fleury. I know there were people yesterday that felt that Vasilevsky should have won it. Fleury had statistically the best season he's ever had as a goaltender. He led the league in shutouts. It's not like Fleury had a bad season by any stretch. So, I'm glad he finally has that Vezina, but he earned it. It's not a pity thing. He earned it. The stats were the best that he's ever had. So, kudos to him. And again, you come back to that question about the individual awards and how many individual awards went to players that aren't playing hockey after the first round, after the second, after the third. And, the big trophy, well, game 2 starts for that tonight. The Tampa Bay Lightning at home against Montreal. 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific start time. Tampa Bay, of course, up 1-0. They will be without Killorn tonight due to his leg injury. So Killorn won't be in the lineup. On the Montreal side, Evans was reported as wearing a non-contact jersey, which means he's out, but he's listed as a game-time decision, as is Yoel Armia. Yoel Armia is likely in there. So I would think that's the plan. We'll probably know right before game time whether or not that's official, but if a guy's wearing a non-contact jersey, it is unusual for him to play. Not that they can't do that. And whether they're doing that to throw the media off or throw off the other team, it has happened before. But in all likelihood, Armia is going to be playing tonight. Connor McDavid, with his Hart Trophy win yesterday, he's the first player to get 100 out of 100 first-place votes for the Hart since Wayne Gretzky did it in 1982. And I remember that season in that nobody else could get close to Gretzky. And again, you get into that conversation about who's the best and and Gretzky, really, nobody was close to him during that era. So Connor McDavid, and then the question I saw asked yesterday too in the comment section was, are people realizing now he's the best player in the game? Until there's playoff success, there will be detractors. I remember being a kid and being a detractor for Mario Lemieux, and then they won in '91, and I was like, well, there ends that. All right. No more detracting from me. So, yeah, because I wanted Gretzky to have all the records and all that. But, yeah, Lemieux was a pretty good player, too. So, right now, Connor McDavid is just on a level that seems to be just for him. And the voting definitely shows that. Talks with Adam Larson are ongoing. We've heard, of course, rumors on and about how much, $3.5 million. I heard $5 million at one point, and that is $3.5, but we'll see. The contract signed by Ryan Nugent-Hopkins means they can give more attention to what they're going to do with Larson. And, of course, free agency's coming up. Edmonton's one of those teams you got to keep an eye on and see what they're going to do. Because when you've got a player who got all 100 Hart Trophy votes, you might want to give him a team that can win in the postseason and generate some more money, which the NHL is going to be looking to do over the next 12 months. We'll see how they do. Chicago news that's hockey on the ice related, with Jonathan Toews being on the mend and being on the ice. Now, he's opened up about what's been going on with him. There's been a lot of speculation. I heard people saying, he had COVID. I heard people saying he had other diseases and illnesses. Well, I haven't reported on any of it because there's never been anything directly from him saying, here's what's going on. So, What he has is chronic immune response syndrome, or he had chronic immune response syndrome. And so he's doing his best to get ready to play next season. There's no guarantee of when he comes back to play, but he's aiming to be ready to go for the start of next season. What this is, CIRS, that he has, biotoxins, which can be bacteria, mold are examples of that, overgrow in the body and they overwhelm the immune system. So that's not what I was hearing he was going through. Like, I understood he was going through fatigue, he was going through just not feeling good and all this. And I saw people too saying, oh, he just doesn't feel like, he doesn't want to go through the rebuild, so he decided not to play this year. But the reality is he's dealing with something that sounds pretty hard to deal with on a day-to-day basis. The constant fatigue, it would be tough. Pro athletes and all that, and trying to stay in shape. So hopefully Toews is able to get himself back into shape and ready to go for next year. It would make a big difference to Chicago to have him in the lineup. With some of the young players coming along as they did for Chicago this year, you plug Toews into that lineup, they could be in the running for a playoff spot next year. There's other moves they have to make in the offseason, but they could be in the running. Now, the NHL announced today that they've partnered up with a TikTok star. Let me just take a double refresher on this. So it's a kid, Josh Richards, who's got a following, and he's done podcasts with Dave Portnoy of Barstool, and so it sounds like he knows this hockey and Canadian kid and all this, and he's 21 years of age, and they're trying to grow the youth market. And it's interesting, the NHL trying to grow the fan base. And then people will mention, well, why aren't they using these people? And they're really well-known people they're talking about. And I'm thinking, well, maybe those people are doing all that they can. So it's an interesting dilemma the NHL has. I kind of feel like those of us who want to watch hockey already are. The people who aren't watching hockey there's going to be two groups, right? You're going to have the group that just don't want to watch hockey. And then the ones that may not understand it might be interested if you explain it to them. But the other part that hockey's been struggling with, and a lot of pro sports in general, is that the generation that's coming up now, not nearly as obsessed with the pro sport side of things as the generations that preceded it. But again, maybe it helps, maybe it doesn't. I do think that for growing the game, I think that it's on us as hockey fans to grow the game. I don't think the league's gonna necessarily have the best ideas for it. When Mr. Burns gets all dressed up to pretend he's a teenager to go to the school, it's kind of like that, right? So it just, I don't know. I understand what the NHL's trying to do with this, and I do hope that they can grow the game and we see bigger numbers for the NHL. I do remember when the NHL was bigger than the NBA. I do. But the NHL needs to have a consistent rule book. They need to market their stars better. They also need to protect their star players better than they do. And yeah, it's definitely a league that could do some business different. But when you've got this outcry throughout the postseason from fans about how disgusted they are with this and that and this and that, it just sometimes feels like maybe make the current fans happy, and then they'll recommend your product to more people too. But so we'll see how it goes. But again, some of the complaints that we see in the postseason are consistent from year to year to year. The ratings have been pretty good throughout the playoffs for the various series that we've seen. We'll see whether or not that leads into better numbers for next year. Of course, ESPN as well has revealed their lineup, and we'll get into that at some point over the summer. It's pretty good lineup. And so we'll see if the ESPN partnership in the US helps as well. It should get more eyeballs on the product, but in terms of growing the game, I really think it's on us as fans. And so there you go. This is why every time people will say, oh, Shannon should get picked up by a network, or he should get picked. I'm too old. It's 21-year-old kids the NHL's going to hire. It makes sense. He can travel all over and, meet with all these people and do all these little, TikTok things. And it's funny because I do have an account on TikTok, I don't really do anything with it. I've got 3 videos of the cats, and they're not doing anything fun in it. And it just, yeah, I get it. They're trying to reach out to a whole other audience. I don't know how well it's going to work. I've watched for years with wrestling. Wrestling tries to force themselves into other markets, and it can be tough because where I have a hard time is when you're alienating your current fan base in order to try to attract another. So hopefully we don't see situations like that with the NHL. But again, the NHL, it's always interesting to see how some of these marketing decisions go. And so we'll see what happens. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And of course, if you're in the interior BC, if you're still being, and of course, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, there's places now dealing with this massive heat. Do your best to stay safe, stay hydrated, and, stay as safe as possible in this weather. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. Do not forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already done so. I will talk to you again soon.